Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the breaking news section of the next panel. We have 3 participants. My name is Anett Mádi-Nátor, and I'm one of the breaking news persons for ITBN, Conf-Expo. And my partners in this discussion that is coming up are Mr. Tomáš Šárocký, Mr. Octavia Oancea, and Carlos Sousa. Welcome.
Thank you.
I hope all of you have access to the microphone so you can talk to me.
I think yes.
And everyone can hear us? Perfect. Now, the goal of the breaking news section is quite extraordinary. We are not going to discuss technical issues here. We are not going to discuss any kind of technically specific related details that you will hear in the upcoming presentations. Much rather, I want to drive your attention to something a bit more philosophical, a bit more poetical, let's say, or even drive your attention to the questions of how private individuals can really control what happens with their data in the virtual space. The original idea was about talking private individuals' data related to health applications, mobile applications and larger applications. But what I had in my mind when I read and heard a lot of data exfiltration related to technical applications, health applications, is like, do we really need to do something with it? So is there a chance that we can do anything about it? How shall we grab it? Or is the private individual in a position that he or she can grab the control over his or her data? So this is where we start from, okay? And I would like you to approach this topic from the perspective of like, are we living in an Orwellian world already? Or do we still have a chance to control our data anyhow? Thomas.
Right. That's a very good question, actually, if we can control our data. Personally, I'm very much concerned about that as well. I'm using Google, like probably most of you as well, and I was very much worried about what I'm sharing there on the Google Drive. I'm putting it somewhere in the cloud. So I got into thinking, okay, I want to encrypt those files. I don't want just, if there is a data breach that someone can read my files, see my pictures, whatever, I want to encrypt them, to have them even more encrypted on the Google Drive. And found out it's not that easy, actually, to do it. And I'm not even talking about the private information, like name and other things. So,
let me interrupt you at this point. Do you really think that an average private individual, a citizen, a florist, for example, can actually do it technically? Is it a realistic expectation that we expect private individuals to be so careful about their data?
Right. I think in these days it's very hard to do. People are not that well educated about how to do it. They are not aware of the security of their data. And what's more, also the companies and the government regulations are not to the point where it should be.
Right, but why should private individuals be aware of what happens to their data?
Okay.
Carlos?
Can I join the call now? So,
please.
I think that first we need to separate what is the ideal format and how ideally everything would work, and in the reality how it works. So not only on the citizen, on a private individual, even on a company perspective, I believe most of we that are here are IT professionals and maybe cybersecurity professionals also. We know the big gap that we have in terms of security awareness worldwide. So it's not only the citizens, it's also inside of professional companies that even work with cybersecurity. So if we don't set our expectations to a real stage, that is, they are not aware and they are not ready to deal with this kind of acts. So they need to rely on someone that is expert, or on someone that dedicate more time than them on a topic to protect themselves. Even, I think, if you go to a normal common citizen and you will ask them the difference between being secure and being resilient, he will not understand. So I think that first we need to set expectations. And if in one side we want to go and move to Internet of Things anywhere, and we want to be enabled anywhere, we'll be connected anytime, then we have the data privacy issues on the other side. I think honestly, from my honest opinion, I think we are not there yet, and I think there is a good way to go. GDPR was an entry point to talk about this. If you ask maybe your friends, your family, how much of them already read GDPR-based regulation, nobody will say yes. So I think it's a nice entrance to the topic, but that's the way that I see this, philosophically. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much. I do agree with you, but I want to talk to Octavian as well. The question to you, that what's the real danger of a private individual's data exfiltrating? What do you think? So why is it really, really so dangerous? It's only one significant private individual's data, nothing else.
Well, I should go back to your initial question first. Are we living in an Orwellian state? And the answer is depending on where you live at the moment. Yes, some states are doing more snooping into the private data than others. In Europe, we do have the GDPR on our side if we know how to use it, but then GDPR cannot protect us if we flood the internet with a lot of information. So the education should go first to the individual to make it aware that whatever he puts online, it stays online. And then the effort to remove that will be completely, very difficult, basically. Yeah, for a normal individual to go back and to remove that data. So we're making it easier, yes, for this data to be exfiltrated in the first place. So my advice would be to reduce the online footprint, reduce the number of the applications that we use, so to minimize the risk in the first place, as much as possible, because we all have a lot of applications on our phones that we never use, and these data, we don't know where they reside, and look at the Cambridge Analytica scandal now. It's very public.
Yeah, this is, sorry to interrupt you, this is a brilliant topic. I didn't dare to bring it up, so I did ask Octavian to actually mention it. So now we are in the middle of a nice discussion. How about Cambridge Analytica? What is Cambridge Analytica really doing? What is that phenomenon, let's say, is really about? And why is it that dangerous? Thomas.
There is a wonderful movie on Netflix which describes the scandal around Cambridge Analytica, and there you'll learn that actually by advertisement, by targeting advertisement, you can change opinion of people, and not one individual, but thousands of individuals. And I'm not saying about extremists, because if you know that this is your opinion and you stand with it, simple advertisement will not change it. If you have the other opinion, advertisement will not change it. But if you are somewhere in the middle and you don't know, and maybe yes, maybe no, then the targeted advertisement can turn you to a side where it wants.
So are we talking about someone from behind, someone or something invisible secretly influencing a mass bunch of people?
Yes, by using psychology, influencing masses, literally.
And how does it look like from your perspective, Carlos, for example?
I think that the way that you initiate the debate, you talk about the philosophical point of view. So I think all of us should be aware that if we are more and more connected, and this example of Analytica, you are building what we call philosophically, and it is not easy, there's a global conscience. So if you build a global conscience about this, the empowerment of such a tool is massive. Because in the same way that you say that citizens maybe should be worried about what they're doing with their personal data, they published everything on Facebook. So that's the same person that do the other concern and do the other action. So if we feed the system on that level, and if we have billions of people connected, it will be quite easy to build a global conscience and drive people to a certain direction. Also because I was just talking with a friend of mine at the lunchtime. I'm Portuguese, so I was a little bit upset with Messi getting the award. So I was saying that maybe this is a fake news, just for kidding. But the effect of the fake news can be that one. And Analytica was just an example. How can you massively transform and drive certain area of the public, okay? Like you said and mentioned properly, if you don't know exactly where you want to go, if someone can help you driving you, you will go after.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I agree with you. So my next question to Octavian is like, we are talking about Cambridge Analytica and massive influence. And you said that the private individuals may be able to tackle this issue by actually having less applications on their phones.
Or to reduce
How are these two things related?
And in general, to reduce the online footprint, yes. If there is no data about you, the system cannot take decisions or learn about you, yes. But having said that, I'm a really huge fan of human nature. And I'm observing this firsthand, because in my country, we've seen some of the implication of the Cambridge Analytica campaigns. It was quite fascinating to see people, which otherwise would be friends, fighting for some idea which was not theirs. And now what this enables, this concept, of manipulation, individual manipulation, with such small granularity, it actually makes ourselves trapped in our own minds, in our own reality. And it's so fascinating to see that with the help of technology, we can be silos into our own realities. We can be so different from the people next to us. So it is quite a fascinating time that we're living. But yes, we're coming back to the same advice. Yes, reduce your online footprint. And then if there is nothing about you. But we are willingly putting a massive amount of information about us. So it makes it easier to be profiled. What we like, the music we listen, the food, the bands that we go to, concerts. So yeah, we're making it so easy for them.
What do you think? How will it look like? How will the situation be in like 20, 30 years time ahead?
I think now with the recent exposures and as the education will go forward, I think people will realize how valuable their data is. I think people will become more and more aware. Well, maybe I'm an optimist, yes, but I hope.
Yes, you are.
But that people will become more and more aware, so they will choose where to place their data and which hands to place their data. And again, living in Europe, we have a hope because yes, we have the GDPR. It's a very good tool for us to gain our data back, or the right for the data back. Yeah.
So we already live in a world that influences us, the virtual world. It
Yes.
influences us very strongly.
Yeah.
Can we actually use the EU or Europe to achieve a digital safe haven? So is it realistic? What do you think?
It is not. Yeah, it is not. I was reading some articles about what rich people are doing to reduce their online footprint in case of some bad news, yes? There are companies which are doing this for you for a very good amount of money. So a private individual will be hopeless in the face of this kind of challenge. So that will be my answer.
So in 20, 30 years' time, we definitely be in a hopeless situation. Do you agree?
I have a hope that the government officials will help us in this sense, like it was said with the GDPR. That's a first step, but we need definitely much more towards our own data ownership, literally. That's where we need to get.
Great. And does it relate anyhow to any potential responsibility taken by a global company like Microsoft?
Well, that's a tricky question. Eh?
Sorry about my questions. I do apologize.
Well, can be. I think it will be difficult to measure the empowerment and the force that a company of that size will have in 30 years. In 30 years, in parallel with our data privacy, we are also facing other issues or challenges. Let's call it like that. We are betting more than we should, or maybe even more, on AI for everything. I'm afraid that maybe in 30 years, we will need what I consider an ethical council, because I think we will lose some ethics in the beginning, and it's more on technology, less than people. And I'm not that optimistic, like my friend is, and I think it's a good approach, but I think that we will face challenges that we didn't face yet, okay, for the beginning. That's my point of view.
Thank you, Jens. It was really enjoyable talking to you, and I give the floor to the first presenter. To the audience, you will have some presentations to listen to. I'm sure those will be very exciting, and after that, I'm coming back with the second breaking news. Thank you for your attention.